Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. So today I thought I would discuss 10 things that you should know before you come to Mexico. So yeah, I've traveled with my mom around Mexico for the past about 3 weeks, and then now I'm kind of just living and volunteering here. Firstly is that Mexico is really big. There's, I don't know how many states, but yeah, it's a lot of land, and every state, every region is very different. So I would allow a lot of time if you want to travel around, to different areas of the country, especially. Yeah, all the places are very different, and yeah, it's just a big place. So I would say allow at least you can spend a week just in Mexico City. So yeah, definitely if you're coming here on holiday or vacation, I would say allow as much time as you can. Number two is the weather. So obviously, being a big country, the weather can be vastly different in different areas of the country. So there's definitely beachy areas, tropical areas, but there's also mountains. Now in January, it can get very cold as well in the north, in Mexico City. Even like here in the mornings, at night, it can get very cold, and you see people around, like everybody's wearing, jackets, jumpers, long pants. So yeah, definitely research the weather. They also have I think it's like rainy season or hurricane season and things like that. So definitely research the weather before you come, and yeah, definitely pack warm clothes as well if you know you're going to cold places. Number three is the food. So Mexican food definitely can be delicious. Don't get me wrong. Personally, I love their sauces, and I love like the flavors that they have in all their sauces, but I will say that, in my opinion, it's definitely not the most healthiest cuisine, or at least like food culture here. I feel like is a lot of it is like fried, a lot of it is things in oil, things with a lot of sugar, a lot of salt. Like when you see street food here or things on the street, it's almost always like chips or things that are fried, or candy, or all their drinks as well are very sugary. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they have the healthiest diet, to be honest. So I think just keep that in mind when you're coming here. If you want to eat like very healthy, I think you either have to spend a lot of money, or maybe you have to cook your own food. Because if you are just eating like street food all the time, it's not very sustainable, or at least for me, like it's not very healthy, and I couldn't really do that for extended periods of time. Number four is the prices. So when I got here, I was quite shocked because a lot of the prices were like almost the same as New Zealand, or on par, which is crazy because in my mind, like obviously, I think we expect Mexico to be like this very like poor country where things are very cheap, and in certain aspects, like yes, the things can definitely be very cheap, but like gentrification is also real, especially here in Mexico City. Like there's certain neighborhoods where yeah, prices are on par with the US. So I think yeah, just keep that in mind. Like if you're going to resorts, if you're going to beachy towns, especially where a lot of the tourists go, like definitely expect to pay almost European US prices. Like it's not really going to be cheap. However, if you go to more local spots, if you get out of the touristy areas, these things still in general might be cheaper, but some things like might be the same cost as where you come from, maybe more expensive. Another thing is cash. So I think that before I came here, I was very worried about getting cash out, even though it's not really an issue. Like almost everywhere here in the city takes card, like grocery stores, convenience stores. Most shops will take card or accept credit card, so it's fine. You can even top up, like here in Mexico City, you can top up your Metro card, even just like with PayWave, like on your phone. So you don't need to really stress about getting cash before you come, or like getting US dollars or anything like that. What I have is a Wise card, and basically you just go to any ATM and you can just get cash straight out. And I think they normally charge about 30 pesos, which is like less than like $2 US. So yeah, it's fine. As long as you have like a credit card or a card where you can get cash out, you don't need to worry about getting cash beforehand. Another thing is that tipping exists here, unfortunately, which really shocked me the first time. I remember we went to like a cafe, and when I went to go pay, like they gave me the card machine, and it was like, do you want to tip, I don't know, 0, 10, 20%, whatever. And I was very shocked because I don't know, I just never had heard of tipping in Mexico. Like obviously in the US and Canada, we know what happens, but yeah, unfortunately now in Mexico, tipping is common as well. It's not everywhere. Like I would say it's more in the touristy places and more trendier places, like the very local, like cheap spots. Usually there's no tipping, but yeah, a lot of the time there is tipping. It's expected. I think around 10% is standard. I usually do 10. I always feel bad if I don't tip at all, so yeah, I just kind of do 10%. Another thing is Spanish. So obviously the language spoken here is Spanish, but throughout most of my travels and our travels around Mexico, we noticed that first of all there wasn't many tourists and people didn't really speak much English. Luckily for me, I know Spanish, so this wasn't an issue, but even in like hotels where we were staying, like the receptionists or the people working there barely spoke English. So yeah, I would definitely try and learn as much Spanish as you can before you come. It's just going to make your time a lot easier. It's going to make, yeah, you're going to be able to communicate better, and I think overall just have a much better experience. Number 8 is traveling between cities. So I think the best way is probably to take their buses. We took mini buses in between the cities and we found them to be very comfortable, and the seats were like really big. We had lots of space, but unfortunately they were also very expensive. So yeah, I think that's kind of one thing that's putting me off. Now that I'm alone, I don't really want to travel too much around Mexico because it's kind of expensive. So yeah, keep that in mind when you're planning your trip. Sometimes they do have budget flights as well. So if you don't have a lot of luggage, for example, if you're just traveling carry-on, then it might be cheaper to take flights rather than buses, because buses can add up. Number 9 is like bartering. So a lot of the time people will shop at markets and basically the prices aren't always what they say they are, especially if you're in a touristy area. Like I remember when we went to Chichen Itza, and when you go inside, there's basically a ton of people selling souvenirs, and for example, you could ask them how much something would be and they'll be like, oh, it's 200, and then they'll be like, okay, no, it's 100, or actually it's 50. You know. So yeah, basically definitely get used to bartering, especially if the price isn't written, then normally you can negotiate. Obviously in certain places, if they've already like written a price, then it's kind of hard. But yeah, like if you're buying souvenirs, especially if you're buying a lot, then definitely negotiate the price, obviously within reason. You know, like sometimes if it's just a few dollars, like it's whatever. But yeah, if you're buying a lot of souvenirs, definitely it's worth asking for a discount always. Usually if you go to more local spots, like the price is the price, but if you're in a touristy area and you know it's like people are coming up to you, then definitely like the price can always be negotiated. Finally, I would say Uber is definitely very useful, and I think they have a couple other ride sharing apps as well, but for us we basically just relied on Uber, and it was really good and it's really cheap as well. When you first arrive here, like if you're in Mexico City and you want to get out of the airport, I would say 100% just Uber. Like it costs anywhere from like, I don't know, 10 to 15 US dollars maybe to get almost anywhere in the city center. So yeah, definitely it's the cheapest option, especially if you're traveling in a group or if you have luggage. You don't really want to be messing around on public transport because even though it is cheap, it's really like not tourist friendly. Like the public transport can get very busy, very crowded, and you don't want to be going on there with, you know, suitcases, especially during rush hour or anything like that. So yeah, Uber is definitely the best way to get around the city. We used it to get from cities to airports to bus stations to city center to Airbnbs and whatever, or you know, hotels. Yeah, I think Uber is definitely the best way, and it's the safest way rather than taking taxis, especially if you don't speak Spanish as well, because you can go exactly where you want to go and you know who's going to be driving you, what's the price, etc. You don't need cash, you just need a card to pay. So yeah, that's kind of a few things to know before you come to Mexico. To end this video, I would say if you're thinking of coming here, definitely go for it. We really enjoyed our time and we visited some very beautiful places, and honestly, it's not outside of like Cancun and kind of the Yucatan, I haven't really seen that many tourists. So yeah, it's really nice and kind of just refreshing to be somewhere, and that's not super busy, it's super crowded. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.